Where are all the deals? What's happened in the Pokemon card world? I know we keep harping on about it. When I say we, I think I mean all content creators and any space you look at online, but the Pokemon market is absolutely crazy at the moment. And when it's this crazy, it's really hard to find, and you guys and girls watching might have found this as well, it's really hard to find yourself a deal. And then you ask yourself, is this the best time to buy? And that's essentially what we're going to discuss in this video is, this weird market situation that we're in. And is it actually a good time to buy sealed products? How do we find a deal? And that's probably the biggest question I get asked at the moment. Like, I probably see 5 questions from 5 different people on every video that I post is, where do you find cheap booster boxes at the moment? And the real answer is it's pretty damn difficult. So that's what we're going to explore in today's video. And I guess a quote that comes to mind when I first think about, the market situation that we're in and how inflated prices are and how low stock levels are is, that old Warren Buffett quote. And I don't know if I'm saying this verbatim because it gets thrown around a lot. I think I might have used it on this channel before, which is, something along the lines of be fearful when other people are greedy and be greedy when other people are fearful. And essentially, if you translate that into some logic which makes sense in the Pokemon card world, it's when, maybe when everyone's a bit scared to purchase and there's deals on the table and things are relatively cheap, it's probably a good time to buy. When it's the opposite and, everyone's buying and stock levels are super low and prices are super inflated, maybe it's not the best time to buy. And if we actually look at that quote and translate it to that situation in the Pokemon card world at the moment, you'll actually find that we're in that latter part of it, aren't we? We're in that second part of that quote, which is, everyone's greedy at the moment and stock levels are low. So is it actually the best time to buy? Let's explore that in a second. Before we do though, I just wanted to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, which is Poke Notify. This is an awesome Discord. There's going to be a link in the description to it. There's also a code in the description, Pokeyols_25 to get 25% off. You can sign up to Discord. It's free for 3 days. After that, I think it's like $7 a month if you want to continue. But whether you're in Australia, Canada, America, the United States, I should say, UK, Europe, it'll show you all the deals that you can possibly pick up. It'll also show you when stock drops into a store so you can get on the front foot, whether it's, online, etc., and purchase yourself something before you miss out on it. Because we all know how hard it is to get stock at the moment. So Poke Notify, it's a great Discord. There's also a really nice community on there. There's that chat feature where you can have conversations with like-minded people about picking up stock and what deals are about and buying product at the right prices. So everything will be in the description for that one. Back onto the topic at hand, and that is deals. Where are the deals? Let me give you a little story. And well, there's actually 2 parts to this story, or 2 separate stories. The first one is, in case you haven't watched this channel before, which a lot of you probably haven't, it tells me that pretty much 50% of viewers of all videos are new to the channel. So welcome if this is your first time here. Welcome back and appreciate your support if you've been watching before. But I work in car sales, and at the moment I'm on annual leave. So this 2 parts to this story. The first one is the car sales industry saw something really similar during COVID where, and I work in sales, of course, I sell new Toyotas. We saw something really similar where stock levels became super low for a couple of reasons. A, they couldn't produce enough cars because of, computer chip shortages and other things, and the supply chain was all up the whack. But, ultimately there was more demand than what there was supply. And that's what we're seeing in the Pokemon card world at the moment. Demand is outweighing supply. And what happened in that scenario is, of course, there was things like, well, in Australia, we couldn't up the price of cars. It's not legal to do that here. But I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you're in American car sales, dealers were jacking up the prices of cars. So if a car's recommended retail price was 30,000 American dollars, so it was a mid-spec Toyota Camry or something, dealers could, if they had the stock, ask 35 or 40 grand for that car because the market would absorb it. I don't know. I could be completely wrong there. Anyway, in Australia, there's a little bit of a haggling culture here, particularly when it comes to car sales for some reason. I got this deal, I got this cheap. And that would happen, for all the years that I've been in car sales. And we're sort of getting back to that scenario now. But for the whole of COVID, for argument's sake, there was pretty much no discount. Like you bought the car or you didn't get the car. And if you did want to order the car, quite often you had to wait 6, 12, 18, sometimes 18 months, sometimes 2 years to get the stock item. And if there was price increases along that time, you had to wear them. That was just the way it was. And the secondhand market went absolutely through the roof, to the point where people were paying more for a secondhand car that was 2 years old with 20,000 kilometers on it than what the new equivalent was, so they didn't have to wait 2 years to get it. And people were essentially overpaying like crazy. Now, you might ask, where's the relevance there in that story? And again, I said I've got a second story to go. The relevance, if we transfer that to the Pokemon card world, is if you're looking at a Surging Sparks booster box, for argument's sake, and you're buying it essentially, off a retailer, or you're buying it off the secondary market that someone's reselling it, you're paying way above retail price, and the set's only been out for 2 months. Now, you've got to sit back at some stage and ask yourself, A, is that okay? And B, what's the point? Like, is it too much? Is it too dear? And look, I'm not saying I have the answers to those questions, but you might want to sit back and ask yourself that. If you didn't get, or you weren't lucky enough, or you weren't in the game early enough, or you weren't smart enough to pre-order some Surging Sparks, yes, you might not have got all of it, but if you weren't in the game to pre-order some and get it for, roughly, whether it was 100, 110, 120, 130 US dollars, and you missed out on that, and a month to 2 months later, you're paying 240 US dollars or 230 US dollars to get that same booster box, you got to sit back and ask yourself those questions. Now, the second part to the story is, at the moment I'm on annual leave, which is awesome. It's good to have some time off from work, reset a little bit. But I thought, you know what I never do? I never get into the old brick and mortar. I never go into the gaming stores, the big box retailers, because I'm always too busy with work and YouTube and other things and life and playing golf, etc., and go to the gym. But I thought, you know what? I didn't have much on yesterday, so I decided to go around to the local gaming stores and also the big box retailers. And I went around probably half a dozen stores, and the essential answer that I was getting when it comes to supply levels and stock levels was the same from everyone. Like, they just can't get supply. And this baffles me a little bit, because, and I'll bring this back around full circle to where are the deals and buying at the right price in a second. But this baffles me a little bit, because it's not like the printers have slowed down. We don't have distribution chain issues at the moment. Well, it should all be sorted. We certainly don't have, printing issues. Again, last year, more cards were printed than what were printed in 2023. And in 2023, more cards than were printed in what was printed in 2022. And, the list sort of goes on. The production of Pokemon cards is just increasing. So the supply is just increasing. So the only answer as to why things are on back order and stores can't get stock is simply because of the demand. The demand for it is absolutely crazy at the moment. And I don't need to, and this video is not about going into the reasons for this, but there's plenty of it. It's the holiday season. Pokemon Pockets come out, and that's brought, maybe from the digital space, a lot of new collectors into the physical space, but I don't need to go through all the reasons. What I'm getting at, though, is as I went around those stores, so let's start with one, for example. I went into the local Target. I think even in America, you have Target over there. Anyway, we've certainly got it in Australia. And I went up to the card section, and lady at the counter, and I could see some Scarlet and Violet base back there. I said, "Oh, excuse me, do you have any other cards or sets other than Scarlet and Violet base?" She said, "That is literally all we got. We've got about 10 packets of Scarlet and Violet base. That's it." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, can we order anything?" She's like, "Everything's on back order." I was like, "Can you get any Surging Sparks or Prismatic Evolutions?" "Oh, I'm not getting much of those at all. They're very hard to get. They're on back order." Next store, went along to Toy World, which is another big retailer in Australia, but not so much known for its Pokemon cards. I thought in the past, a few years back, when we had the same supply issues, like, and I know these aren't great sets, but, Vivid Voltage and Battle Styles and Darkness Ablaze were hard to get. Believe it or not, hard to get from retailers at some stage. It wouldn't seem that way now. Toy World worked out for me, and I got some boxes of Vivid Voltage at an extremely cheap market price at the time off them. Anyway, so I went in there and no, we're completely sold out. So none at all. No, do not have any Pokemon cards for sale at all. Okay, when are you next getting some? Don't know, pretty much everything's on back order. Look, she knew a fair bit about Pokemon cards, but she's like, oh, look, we've got Prismatic Evolutions. Like, how much stock are you getting of Prismatic Evolutions? She said, all I've got at the moment is pretty much mini tins and booster bundles. And I said, great, booster bundles. I'd love to get my hands on some booster bundles. How many are you expected to get? She said, getting 10. 10 cases or 10 booster bundles? No, just 10 booster bundles. I was like, what about Surging Sparks? Oh, look, it says it's on back order. I can click to order it, but when I'm ever going to get it, I don't know. I was like, okay, no worries. We'll maybe put my name down, etc. And if some Surging Sparks or some Prismatic Evolutions come in, let me know, and I'll come in and have a look. Went to the next store. Look, and without going through every 6 stores that I went to, the story was pretty much the same. Low supply. One store had, I went into Kmart, that's right, I went into Kmart, and the only thing they had was blister packs, so single sleeve boosters, I should say, of Stellar Crown, and that was it. Nothing else. No Temporal Forces, no Paldea, like no Surging, obviously no Prismatic yet, no Paldea and Fates. No, just single booster packs, essentially, of Stellar Crown. So I guess, when all this comes into question about finding a deal and where's the best place to buy at the moment, it's actually a really tough marketplace to buy from. I've been using, and I don't know, I presume I'm pretty sure this is a global-based app. I've been using the Shop app lately just to find good online deals. And here's another, I'm doing a lot of stories today. Here's another example. Let's call it an example, not a story. I thought, I was talking about Paldea Evolved. I did a video on about a week ago. About 3 weeks ago, or a fortnight ago to 3 weeks ago, I decided to buy some more supply of Paldea Evolved. And I went into the Shop app and ended up finding a local store in Canberra where you could get Paldea Evolved booster boxes, $200 landed at your doorstep, including GST, tax, etc. So $200, free postage at your doorstep. So I went onto the website and just made sure it's legit, because that's what the Shop app does. I'm certainly not promoting it, but it goes through and at least you can go price low to high so you can find the cheapest booster boxes. And I thought $200, that's pretty cheap. It's about $140 US, $135 US, like posted, including tax to your doorstep. Pretty reasonable price for Paldea Evolved. And it said something like 9 booster boxes left in stock. And I checked the next morning and, there was 5 booster boxes left in stock. And then by midday, they're all gone. So that's the point I'm getting at. Even if you can find a deal, which for me, I think that was a good deal in this current market, supply is going to get eaten up so quickly if there happens to be a deal. But here's another little thing. It was literally only June last year, Gameology, which is a massive online store here in Australia, which are currently listing most Scarlet and Violet booster boxes for like $250 Australian dollars, which is like, what's that work out to be? 175, 180 US. So, Temporal, Twilight Masquerade, etc. All those Stellar Crown, all those booster boxes for sort of $230 to $250 Australian dollars, which is that 160 to 180 US mark. And it was only literally a year ago, not even a year ago, just over 6 months ago, June 2024. I remember it like yesterday when they had a sale on, and they called it something like, it was Christmas in July or something along those lines, or like a winter sale here in Australia when maybe things slow down a little bit. And, it was $159.95 free postage for all Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. That's Australian. Translate that to US, you're pretty much bang on $100. $100 for all Scarlet and Violet booster boxes. And the demand 6 months ago was not really there. And that's what a few of these store owners were saying when I went in. They were saying, 6 months ago, things were pretty quiet. We weren't selling as many Pokemon cards. Now it's just absolutely blown out of the water and we can't get supply. So that brings me right back full circle to that quote, when's a good time to buy and what is a good deal? And that quote around, buying when other people are fearful. And if you ask yourself 7 months ago, people were still a bit, I don't know if fearful is the right word, but people were still a little bit apprehensive about the whole Scarlet and Violet era. There was still a lot of money being injected into Sword and Shield and not so much into Scarlet and Violet. People are like, we don't see singles prices taking off for these. The major hits aren't that great. There's not too many cards across the whole Scarlet and Violet era that are north of $100. Compared to, Sword and Shield that had multiple cards in the hundreds and multiple hundreds and even $500 or $1,000 mark in the Umbreon. So I think people were still quite apprehensive about the Scarlet and Violet era. But if you look back to that quote, that was the best time to buy. And look, I bought a fair few booster boxes. Obviously not as many. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Obviously not as many as I would have liked. Also found a coupon code which got me additional $5 off every booster box. So I was getting them for 155 Australian dollars, which is probably like 98 US dollars landed to your doorstep with tax included, free shipping. And, you know, that was the perfect time to buy. Now when you look at it, you got to pay like, you know, the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes have run up so quickly. Twilight Masquerade's dear. 151's just insane to try and get your hands on that. Prismatic's not even out yet, and the prices have gone absolutely bonkers. You know, Surging Sparks has just run up so quickly when it's only been out 2 months or 2.5 months. And this is where we need to ask ourselves that really, really good question. Where are the deals and is it a good time to buy? And for me, if you can use something like that shop app that I was giving the example of, and you can find something under market price because maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a smaller store and they might stock so many items they don't have the first clue about the Pokemon market. Or maybe they have a little clue, but they're not really into it because they've got 100 other markets to look after. You know, they might have pop vinyls, they might have records for sale, they might have other TCGs like One Piece and Magic the Gathering, and to hone in and know exactly what's happening with every set in the Pokemon card world is just a waste of time for them. So, you know, there are still deals about, and that's where I will finish off the video. Just ask yourself, do you feel like this is a bit overpriced and am I overpaying for something when you're looking for a deal? And the other side of it is there are still deals if you can find them and look hard enough. I'm Michael. This is Pokey Oz. I'll catch everyone next time.